You can already expect I'll be criticizing a lot on these two ladies who took the interview with CNA Talking Point, young and in depth. I guess by being featured so negatively, they kind of already can guess what's going to come their way. But also, when we criticize, let's not be rude. Let's make it as constructive as possible. And if you stay right to the very end, I'll be sharing with you more on the buy now, pay later principle and a powerful message to round things off. The story goes like this. Diana Sir asked the socializing habits of Joey, and she shared that she goes to new restaurants and bars every week, and each trip is about $100. So let's take a pause over here, but look at Diana Sir's face. I'm pretty sure that Diana Sir has wealth and she's concerned, which says a lot already. $100 each trip is a lot or not, really depends. If you see me at Suntec or Vivo eating set lunch, these meals only cost $15 to $20. I hardly order drinks if ever. It's usually the free barley tea that comes with the Korean food, or it's the free coffee that comes with the set lunch. But I've also known that guys, when they go drinking, they buy beer towers. Each trip is also $100. So that is subjective. But if you go every week, of course, the bill is going to add up quite significantly. To me, again, that's a reminder that probably I'm not suited to go back to the F&B industry because I don't quite understand consumer mindset. I'm maybe too stingy to really focus on the right menu to sell the right volume in sales for F&B. But back to the story. Diana Sir next quizzed her about transport, and Joey has actually shared that she takes Grab almost all the time and can't imagine waking up 2.5 hours earlier. Let's pause it over here again, and this has really got netizens flamed up. But in her defense, I guess it's just sensationalized to make her have that spoiled image. I think she also can guess that it's not 2.5 hours. It's just probably half an hour waking up earlier and stuff. So this is, in my opinion, quite possibly sensationalized, just to add on to the story that someone can be spendthrift. Next, they take a cab and move on for the rest of the day, and subsequently they talk about budgets. Joey has shared that she does not do a budget up. As a start, her income is about $5,500. She spends about $2.5K to $3K on necessities, $1,150 on rent that she's sharing with someone, $300 on insurance, and savings of $1,000. Let's pause it again over there. I'd like to firstly make constructive criticism. This is a classic example of not following the adage, save first and then spend what's left. Try to save $1,000. It's not, I force save $1,000, I gyro it up to my investment account, I don't touch it, rain or shine. The second criticism, necessities $3,000. This is very, very vague. We need to tighten it up a bit. In the previous video on cash stuffing, I mentioned that it is good to be accountable and break down the budgets by itemizing everything. That means also transport in bus and transport in Grab rides are broken down to show where can be trimmed. If you want to improve, you need to get back to the basics, because if you see a whole number of 3,000 as necessities, that means if you really want to save, you don't know where to pull back on. Again, if you are saving $3,000 a month, no one really cares if you take Grab every day. And back to the point of trying to save $1,000. At the earlier part of the story, Diana Sir has actually asked if she actually saves or not, and she mentioned that she saves 20%. So 20% of $5,500, that ties into the story of trying to save $1,000. Now, quite simply, this is also a problem, because from what we hear from story, you are self-employed, and we need to compare with someone in the employed space. Do take note again, someone in the employed space has to make mandatory contributions to CPF, and CPF will have already cut that 20% off before take-home pay. And if we factor in the employer contribution, there is effectively 37% of savings per month that is done by someone who is employed. So when we talk about the 50-30-20 rule, whereby 20% is safe, that is actually 20% of take-home pay that you can use as money that you can freely invest. So what that means also, in her situation, if she was employed, she's actually not saving anything at all with her take-home pay. I come from also a self-employed background, and in this background, we all need to focus on saving at least 37% just to match anyone that is in the employed space. Our income risk is higher, there's no retrenchment benefit and stuff. We need to plan for retirement a bit more urgently. Quite simply, you never know when your industry will change and your paycheck will dry up. Take note again, COVID taught us a very important lesson. Back then, top MCs doing dinner and dance, they were drawing 5 digits monthly salary. But when COVID hit, there was no dinner and dance, all these gigs were cancelled, and they found it hard to sustain their monthly expenses. In a self-employed background, our emergency cash needs to be higher. This emergency bucket needs to be filled ASAP, which means also there's every urgency to cut back on Grab ride spending and expensive dining ASAP. This is the only way to help yourself avert financial trouble and debt. Speaking about debt, that leads to our second lady in today's story, Nurul. Nurul is awaiting her 3-room BTO flat, and Dianessa has actually discovered that she has $15,000 in student loan. This student loan is pegged to the credit card, and when Diana asked whether she has actually missed payments, her answer was yes, some days it was missed. Now, when we ask someone, do you drink? If the answer is sometimes I drink, you can actually bet that the person is actually drinking every week. Because quite simply, for someone who really drinks occasionally, the answer coming up might be no, or I hardly ever drink. So when someone says sometimes, it's usually to downplay the severity of the problem. Diana next asks Nurul whether she manages to save. And let's pause it again. Nurul's answer is This is a big red flag that Nurul is not exactly saving anything right now. And the main reason for not saving could be attributed to temptation in the apps she used to do shopping, as well as peer pressure. She herself mentioned that sometimes there are unnecessary spendings, but these extra things actually make her feel good. Let's pause it again over here. Nurul, feeling good after spending, this is actually a symptom of a problem. This problem is actually spending or shopping addiction. Scientists have found that shopping activates the pleasure regions of the brain. This triggers the release of dopamine, the very same chemical that's released during sex, getting high, or eating a great meal. You need to read up on shopping addiction ASAP. How to solve shopping addiction, you realize, would boil down to a few parts. The first is you need to be ruthlessly honest about the problem to yourself and to your spouse. Maybe he can help you be a bit more accountable. The second, you need to take an enforced 30-day break away from this problem. You probably feel a lot worse first before starting to feel better. And this can be scientifically explained as a dopamine withdrawal. Your mind is starting to restore that natural balance in dopamine. The third is to find sustainable half steps. You might need to delete all the shopping apps straight away. You might need to do all the purchases on your other half's phone so that you do not have that compulsive action to press straight away. And you might need to find certain action habits, such as you can only make a new purchase on cosmetics, for example, only when you have fully finished the previous product. Action steps as a barrier is very powerful. It's proven much more effective than cold turkey or pure motivation. She next shares that she actually spends $300 on makeup. There's no mention about pay, which is actually worrying because if $300 is a significant portion of her income, like for example $2,000 take home, then it would sound quite crazy. We next find out from the story that Nurul uses Buy Now Pay Later, BNPL, something that Joey doesn't. Joey is not saving much, but at least it sounds that she's not in debt. Nurul's situation is probably even worse. She's bought jackets before with BNPL platforms. She has also shared that she doesn't quite like credit cards because it is just simply a delay of full payment, whereas BNPL actually splits the bill up. Nurul, this is actually a trick. The first question is, do you take loans from family? If your answer is no, then splitting up the cost is nothing new actually. If you see Courts, they've been doing it for years on their furniture. And we can actually all take a guess as to who actually uses this Buy Now Pay Later with Courts. Splitting up the bill does make it look a lot more affordable, but as spoken on this article, young people using Buy Now Pay Later schemes are unaware that they are actually loans. I'll create a sequel to this video explaining the problems of Buy Now Pay Later. I'll even explain using my own purchase, so if you're curious to find out, smash a subscribe. Stay tuned for it, and again, smash the like button so that this message goes out to a wider audience to educate on financial responsibility. Let me share by explaining on a very simplistic term how Buy Now Pay Later exactly works. Take my $390 Kids Paid purchase for example. I got a 10% discount, which is $39, and the remainder was split up for 3 months at $117 each. Crazy, right? Where do these Buy Now Pay Later platforms actually earn money from? And before I explain that, let me quote from Charlie Munger. Show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. What is the incentive for Buy Now Pay Later programs? Let's use a firm who is actually listed in US and hence they have data available for us. They're actually not in Singapore, so I won't offend anybody directly. Buy Now Pay Later programs earn from two main sources. Firstly, interest income, which is the green bar, and secondly, in the red bar, merchant fees. These platforms, they are a middleman. A salesman, middleman, who don't actually manufacture a product like a Kate Spade bag. And as the saying goes, if there's no product, you are the product. The two incentives for them are interest income, which means inadvertently they hope you become late in payment, and merchant income, whereby they are paid a commission by helping to sell their product. That is why they hope to make that purchase as cheap as possible to stimulate you to over-consume. Kate Spade, for example, can already sell to customers who can afford. It's you that they can't reach with their original asking price. That's why they need a buy now pay later program to entice you in. These buy now pay later programs couldn't make any money off me. I took their coupon and I paid in full. These buy now later programs can't make money also from people who are bankrupt, because that will become bad debt. You are the soft spot, the golden goose that they are finding, that they can hook with overconsumption and quite possibly in future interest income. For anyone watching who is in a similar situation as Nurul, you need to realize that you are vulnerable. You need to stop using buy now pay later programs. You delete the app straight away. You need to rehab that shopping addiction. And by saying it so bluntly, I effectively have no more chance getting sponsored by any of these buy now pay later programs. I mean well in delivering this message, and I wish you the best in taking corrective steps to become more financially responsible. As always, if you agree with this message, smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next sequel to this. Take care as always. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.